Hi, I'm Rabbit Squirrel, and welcome to the Top 10 Line Rider Tracks of 2019. This is our 4th annual installment of this series. This year we had a panel of 9 judges and 6 reviewers, all of whom are artists or critics of some variety. As always, if you just want to watch the tracks and don't want to listen to us talk over them, click on the link to the playlist of tracks without commentary up above or down below. Alright, let's go.
Number 10. Line Rider Picnic by Anton. As a major contrast for much of his previous work filled with ironic critiques of Line Rider tropes, Anton's newest release conveys beautiful artistic expression as well as humor, but this time in the context of a story. The track begins with an establishing shot of Bosch slowly riding along a peaceful hillside, a perfect spot to have a picnic. But as the track continues, Bosch realizes that this quaint little area is actually much less familiar than they'd originally thought. The way that Anton emanates a persistent feeling of confusion throughout the track while keeping every motion very smooth is a unique contrast I've never really seen before and translates effectively in the context of the song, along with the minimalist art style that perfectly matches the simplicity of the sound design. Out of the few ideas it presents in its short duration, they all manage to stand out and be memorable, such as the use of multi-riders briefly appearing in frame when people's names are said aloud, the confusing recycled lines section to match the repetition of the words "I don't know" and "Where are we?", and finally the punchline, which reveals we were actually on the moon the whole time. Though this track is quite short and definitely could have been expanded further, for all it tries to do, this is one of the cutest, most aesthetically pleasing, and professionally made tracks of the year, which all comes together to land at the number 10 spot on this list.
Number 9, Widows in Paradise by Branches. This is easily the most subtle work on this list. At first glance, Widows in Paradise might not seem like anything special, but upon closer examination there's a lot to love about this beautiful minimalist piece. Bosch's movement in this track consists mostly of either slow tumbling or basic rightward flat sledding, but each second matches the music remarkably well, both in the details and in the work's overall structure. In the tumbling sections, the track lines are used to move Bosch in ways that loosely match each word of the lyrics and strum of the banjo. This results in movement that stands in stark contrast with innumerable other Line Rider works where the sync feels overly mechanical. Branches also uses simple visuals that work beautifully in concert with this subtle movement, such as rocky cliffs in the tumbling sections and long, slow-moving lines in the instrumental sections. Later on, Branches combines many of these motifs beautifully, most strikingly in a section where track and scenery lines curve together in unison to swells of the trumpet, and also a section where long curves are intermittently covered up by the cliffs. Finally, towards the end of the work, Branches has written out the final lyrics, which repeatedly declare, "I did everything for you," a beautiful touch that pulls at the heartstrings. All in all, Widows in Paradise is a deceptively simple but achingly beautiful work from a relatively new Line Rider artist, and I highly recommend checking it out.
Number 8. Delirium by Hanuman. Many Line Rider works these days visualize a piece of music, but relatively few manage to dodge the trap of mechanically syncing to the beat. In Delirium, Hanuman successfully avoids this by focusing on the themes present in the song itself, starting off slowly before descending into a light narrative illustrating themes of anxiety and madness. This work develops and expands upon ideas Hanuman previously attempted in Promnesia, such as the use of black areas to create cinematic framing and contrast. But while Promnesia suffered from lengthy parts that felt overly drawn out, as well as an overall lack of artistic direction, Delirium moves quickly through distinct sections that each present a different interpretation of the main theme. Hanuman blends animation and abstract visuals with heavy manipulation of Bosch's movement to create an environment that really feels tangible because of how consistently the visuals interact with the rider. Pinches, cremules, cannons, and generally the compression of Bosch enhance a sense of claustrophobia and also serve to teleport Bosch around in ways that distort our perception of their environment before we finally wind up at what at least appears to be the beginning of the track. Some of the transitions aren't as refined as they could be, but the work's overall artistic cohesion and creative use of numerous techniques make Delirium a tasteful and fresh take on a common Line Rider genre, earning it a spot on this list.
Number 7. The Road Less Traveled by OTDE. TechDog's groundbreaking final work, Transcendental, was a spectacle of lavish scenery that would, unfortunately, kick off something of a line count arms race. leading to a trend of Line Rider artists burning out after attempting impossibly ambitious scenery projects. Using files from the Line Rider Archival Project, OTDE, a Line Rider artist known for their experimental and satirical works, has reinterpreted the scenery of Transcendental for a new purpose. As the name suggests, The Road Less Traveled has Bosch taking an alternative path through the landscapes of Transcendental, exploring nooks and crannies glossed over in the original. When Transcendental has Bosch zipping past intricately detailed landscapes on smooth, artificial rails, The Road Less Traveled sees him sledding roughly over them, lending weight and attention to the handcrafted shape of each boulder, crag, and brick. Where Transcendental has him flying by impressive landmarks at breakneck speed, The Road Less Traveled lingers on those landmarks, in stills, framing them with an eye for composition that allows the audience to soak in the fine details. Through simple recontextualization of spectacle into mindfulness, The Road Less Traveled is able to find value that TechDog may have overlooked in his own work. It's a tasteful remix that rejects the ethos of the original piece, and the more pernicious lessons the Line Rider community took from it, while refusing to throw away the beauty in the work itself. A powerful but nuanced message that earns its place in the top 10 Line Rider tracks of 2019.
Number 6. Formation by Andrew Hess. Marrying brilliant arrangement with a pitch-perfect sense of visual design, Hess redefines the slow burn with Formation. This piece is a gorgeous 7-minute trip through some of the best synchronized visuals from the Line Rider world, each style flowing without friction into the next. I was struck by this track's utter consistency. After multiple watches, I could not identify a single moment in this track that I would have changed. Think of a song, and visualize it in Line Rider. Strip it down, piece by piece, and take away everything unnecessary, until you're left with the purest expression of each note. You might have made something that approaches the genius of this track. Simplicity isn't Formation's only strong point, however. If this piece was just effective notation, there would be very little difference between watching this and, say, a well-charted Guitar Hero song, something that's impressively organized but not super expressive in its own right. As you watch this track, take note of the ways visual elements subtly weave into and around each other, how gently each piece will lilt into the next, how naturally Bosch will transfer from one line to another. This track is best watched with all the lights off, with headphones to guide you into the sound, and with your full attention. Pay a visit to Formation, and you'll return to someone else entirely.
Number 5. Devil Cut by 156 Rider. 156 Rider, aka Ichikoro Raida, is a new Japanese Line Rider artist whose discography has been one of the highest points for the community in 2019. Their tracks tend to follow very consistent themes that utilize simple geometric motifs to create very fluid and cohesive tracks. However, this track stands out for its unique theme of MC Escher-styled optical illusions. Now, we can all agree that optical illusions are awesome, but being able to implement them into a world where Bosch is constantly interacting with them is a task almost no one could pull off. But Devil Cut benefits from many ingenious directive choices by 156 Rider that work in harmony with the theme, such as the marriage of abstract music with abstract scenery, the tasteful implementation of adorable Halloween decorations to give the track personality, and the use of anti-gravity wells to make it appear like Bosch is slowly transforming into an illusion themselves. Each concept is brilliantly simple and presented in a consistent rhythm of ideas that is able to leave a lasting impression on the viewer. Every time I watch the final section with Bosch seamlessly manualing past mind-bending shapes and illusions, it toys with my visual senses as the pattern-hungry mind struggles to form connections between what the eye wants to recognize and what is actually shown. Overall, Devil Cut is one of the most strikingly creative works from one of the most promising new track makers, redefining the possibilities of Line Rider as we speak.
Number 4. Nightmare by Toivo. This track's story beats are an important part of the experience. I suggest watching it first. It's difficult to scare someone with Line Rider. Bosch is a plain and inoffensive little penguin, and as such, few tracks instill genuine disquiet. Nightmare by Toivo is one of the rare explorations of Line Rider horror that struck gold. Drawing deeply from the mental associations its title creates, this track is an outstanding creative benchmark from which future genre enthusiasts and wayward experimentalists might draw inspiration. Many of Nightmare's strengths are built atop rock-solid storytelling fundamentals. Consider its framing. The camera is close enough to give a solid sense of speed, but it's also far enough out to establish an underlying structure. Toivo capably employs crosshatching across the entirety of this structure to evoke a creeping sense of claustrophobia. Watch as he teases the viewer here. With the spider as the music is building, it suggests worse to come while providing a startling narrative moment right as the track is about to get repetitive. The ending is the best part by far, an incredibly effective use of meta-narrative that serves as the piece's climax. As the moment passes, relief gives way to uncertainty. Did you escape or just wake up? That's what makes Nightmare the track and Nightmare the thing that happens while you sleep so unsettling. Number 3. Handlebars by Turner Wise. In 2019, a music teacher showcased the best usage of iconography in Line Rider ever. I can't believe that was an actual sentence I got to write for this video. Handlebars by Turner Wise is an unsubtle and bold visual reinterpretation of Handlebars by Flowbots. It does this by way of clever sketching. By locking into a specific set of culturally communal symbols, Wise is able to tell a story visually, while minimizing the disconnect inherent in artistic realism. Some examples include these bikes, which are complex enough to be unmistakably bikes, but not so complex that they no longer resemble the one you might imagine when I say bike out loud. In grounding the lyrics this way, Wise assembles a picture language that hooks brilliantly into the world of Line Rider. Bosch's motion is used to cut through the boundaries of comic books, to soar past a tide of syringes, and to somehow become the target of a sniper assassination in time with the music. It's heady stuff. Still, the track suffers from inconsistency. Handlebars is strongest when the song gives Wise a clear narrative direction. Left to its own devices, the track sometimes falls short visually. The trombone in this part would have been a great precedent for some kind of trumpet visual during the solo section, for example. Despite this, Handlebars is so intelligently drawn and choreographed in those choice moments that we really couldn't put it anywhere else.
Number 2. Falling in Love by Rabbit Squirrel. Few Line Rider works manage to evoke emotions as effectively as does Falling in Love, Rabbit Squirrel's most vulnerable work since 2016's Broken, a powerful piece illustrating depression. Falling in Love has a gentle and tentative beginning that calls to mind the uncertainty at the beginning of a relationship, while text having to do with trust and embracing one's fullest self sets the stage perfectly for a piece about vulnerability. When the guitar comes in and Bosch picks up speed, it's like a warm bath for your senses. The movements here are smooth and light, like the early stages in a relationship when everything just clicks. The piece then blossoms into a fast-paced, elaborately visual section in which Bosch bounces and tumbles past smooth, undulating curves, perfectly representing tumbling head over heels in the utter elation one feels when their love is reciprocated. There's a moment when the vocal line comes in and the curves on either side of Bosch drop away that evokes the feeling of surrendering one's control despite the perceived risk and allowing oneself to be completely vulnerable with another person. The work closes with a beautiful slow zoom in as parallel lines continue to flow past. Bosch finally comes safely to rest at the end, fear and uncertainty gone, replaced by the most thematically perfect use of a second rider I've ever seen. Thanks to the way Falling in Love effectively elicits such pleasant and relatable emotions, it's no doubt it will continue to have the kind of broad appeal that earned it the number 2 spot on the list.
Number 1, Omniverse 2 by David Liu. After over 11 years of waiting for the complete and fully seen version of Conundrummer's much-beloved classic 2008 Manuquirk Omniverse 2 beta, it seemed there was no possible way that Omniverse 2 could live up to the hype, let alone remain relevant in the vastly different artistic landscape that is Line Rider today, and yet, David has transformed a track well known as a mere technical showcase into an utterly immersive experience, complete with sci-fi world building, a compelling narrative, stunning visuals, and even some lore. In Omniverse 2, the viewer is thrust into a non-Euclidean world where the laws of physics are in constant flux and are told, you must escape, setting up a tension and release that continues throughout the track, climaxing with the most dramatic and compelling 20 seconds of Line Rider that I've ever seen. The sections of techniques in the 2008 beta version that coined the term Omnitrack, such as XY, Alt Quirk, Granules, High Speed Manuquirk, and even Flat Sled Recycling, are all utilized for narrative purposes, an idea that works beautifully with the help of tasteful thematic scenery, brilliant music syncing, and some absolutely stellar camera work. The camera work especially helps show the larger structure of the world Bosch is moving through, creating a palpable sense of scale that is at times simply breathtaking. What's truly shocking about Omniverse 2 is how much of this material is utterly unprecedented, and how flawlessly David manages to execute each new idea. This is the rare Line Rider work that is highly entertaining, enormously impressive, historically significant, and utterly unlike anything you've ever seen before. And this is probably why it easily became our pick for the #1 Line Rider track of 2019. Thanks so much for watching our picks for the top 10 Line Rider tracks of 2019. Please go check out all these tracks in the playlist in the description. While you're there, feel free to check out the documentation of the judging process to determine the top 10, and maybe buy us a coffee if you want to support us. If you've stuck around in our channel this long, it looks like 2020 is the year we're finally going to start putting out video essays regularly. We already have 2 videos in the works, so keep an eye out for those, and see you soon.